disconnected. Anyways, so the objective of today's live stream is to understand how to protect our energy in a spiritual awakening process. What happens in the spiritual awakening process is that we are gaining light. We are becoming light beings. We develop a light body. To raise our vibration, the light quotient should be higher inside of us. When we do sadhana, when we undertake spiritual practices, when we are living a life correctly, when we receive initiation from our guru or from the universe, all this is going towards increasing our light quotient within our body. So if you have to define God, I would define God as light. God is no different from the individual self or the Jivatma. If God is light, the individual self is also light. So in the spiritual awakening process, you will notice that in certain phases or generally over many years, we notice that we're attracting a lot of negative people. People who come into our life to trouble us, and when they are in our life, we feel like we have lost our energy. We don't know how to deal with that situation. And it's not just the people, some even have entity attacks, psychic attacks. And the need to understand why this happens is very important when you are in a spiritual awakening. Because in a spiritual awakening, we are imbibing more light. The more light we imbibe, the more higher or advanced we are in the path. When we gain more light, we are able to see ourselves. We are able to see the inner worlds we hold within us. To see your inner darkness, you need light. Without light, you cannot know what you are holding inside of you. Your dark corners of the mind will not come out for you to see. So, when you look at spiritual awakening process, you will see that the more you know, the more you are aware of, the more light you hold. So everything is linked to light. Now, Earth is a place where souls of higher vibration and lower vibration meet. So what happens is the souls of lower vibration lack in light. They don't know how to develop their individual light because they're so cut off from the divine light, and because they have not inculcated certain qualities within them, certain discipline within them, certain higher capabilities in the sense of empathy, love, forgiveness. These things are very difficult for the darker souls. So when they close their eyes, they only see darkness inside of them. Such souls need light because they cannot generate light on their own and they hold very little light. They take the light of the ones who hold more light. All this is happening unconsciously, not that people are aware of what they are doing. On earth, there are layers. Think of earth as a game where many players have come together to play the game of life. This game is very deep. There are many layers within this game, and in one of these layers is the layer where energy gets transferred between souls. But at the surface level, none of us are aware how this happens. It happens. It affects us. For example, when you spend some time around somebody who is very high conflict person, who holds grudges, who are basically very angry, negative, after spending time with this person, you will notice that you feel like your energy has drained out. Even in relationships, there are relationships which uplift us and there are relationships which drain us. So when you feel drained in somebody's company, understand that they're taking away your light. It may not be very evident at the surface level, but that is what is happening behind the curtains. So, as we are evolving and growing in the spiritual awakening process, you will see that the person is glowing with light. Look at their eyes are glowing, the skin is glowing, hair also glows. Because we are turning everything into light, we are becoming high vibrational beings. Now, let's go back to what science says about energy. Everybody knows this. Energy cannot be created, it cannot be destroyed, but it can be transferred. So, what happens with energy is that the primary energy source is the divine light, and the energy transfer between individuals, it happens in the form of light. That is why when you spend time in a negative environment, negative situation, negative place, say a toxic work environment is there and you're working there, you will notice that within few days you will feel very tired. Your soul will feel famished. It feels like somebody has just drained you. They put a straw into your system and they're just sucking out the life energy from your body. Because here you are losing light. Understand that. If you don't protect your light, you will lose it. So it is very important for you to understand how light as energy, it gets transferred between individuals, and the need to protect your own light. And one more thing, if you have studied atomic structures in school, if you still remember them, you'll notice that electrons, when they get excited, they move into a higher orbit, and when they lose energy, they move into a lower orbit. It's the same thing with us also. Say, for example, there is a person who is spiritually awakened, they are holding light, and they come into contact with somebody who is narcissistic in nature. Now, the narcissistic person is using certain tactics because these people want to control everything. They want to control the person, they want to control how the person thinks about themselves, they want to control how the world thinks about this person, they want to control everything. So, the moment they come into the company of a person who holds more light, they get excited. And that excitement, I said electron, when they get excited, they jump to a higher state of vibration. But from where is this person getting that energy to get a little high in vibration? A temporary high? It is coming from the person who is spiritually doing the job, who holds more light. So the person who holds more light is getting drained of his light, and so he will fall down into the lower vibratory state. And that is why in many situations you will see that when we come back home, especially after we met old friends, relatives, or we've been to a place where there's a lot of third dimensional drama going on, you come back home, you feel so tired. You need to be alone. You have to recover from that tiredness. It feels like fatigue. And you have no idea what happened for you to feel so drained out. Many a times, the lower density conversations, the lower density ideas, the interactions itself can drain you. Because all these things are coming from the lower chakra conversations. And as you're ascending, your sensitivity to such thing increases. You have to understand that. Now, typically, to understand how energy operates in us, I said God is light, and now you are also a piece of that flame. So you are also a light. But how much of light you carry within you depends on how much of spiritual strength you have within you, the spiritual power that you have within you. So I always speak about the body, the left side and the right side. The left side of the body is the feminine side, and the right side of the body is the masculine side. The right side of the body is the sun, the solar energy, and the left side is the moon, the lunar energy. Now, when I say sun, sun also has light. Am I not audible? Okay. So, the sun holds light. So the sun is actually creating the light. It is a source of light. So if we think of sun as the light of the spirit, and if you think of the moon does not produce light, but it reflects the light of the sun. So this is also a kind of light. But this light cannot sustain on its own. It is just reflecting the light of the sun. And then comes the physical body. So let's think of the sun as the solar energy, as the spirit. The spirit is the source of all light. And then the moon, which reflects the light. In occult, the moon is called as Mercury. We say somebody very intelligent, very bright, we call the person as mercurial character. So quicksilver or Mercury, it symbolizes the moon energy. And sulfur, it symbolizes the light of the spirit, which is the sun energy. So the sulfur, the mercury, and then comes salt. What is salt? Salt is the physical body. So here you have to understand, the reason why you have to understand the chemistry, how it operates when there is energy exchange happening between individuals. You need to understand, you need to identify the individual based on what I am saying. A lot of chemical reactions happen inside of the body when we are exchanging energy, because every interaction you are having with another person is an exchange of your energy. So if you look at the sun's energy, I said the sun is the source of all light. So even the plants, the animals, everything on earth derives its source from the energy of the sun. Now, if you have to understand yourself as a healthy entity, where does it exist? It exists at the level of the sacral chakra or the Swadhisthana chakra. I made many videos on this because your subconscious mind is present at the level of the Swadhisthana chakra. And when we have a spiritual or Kundalini awakening, the subconscious mind opens up, and a lot of the contents that are there within us, a lot of darkness that is there inside our mind gets released. So what is helping the release of this? It is the energy of the sun that is falling into those deeper layers of water within us, which are there in the mind. And when deeper layers of the mind, they come out, we see them, we become more aware, we light up, we are more aware of what we hold within us. We know our light side, our dark side, and hence we become enlightened. When we say enlightened, it simply means that we are lightening up rather, or you are just more clear as to what you are. You know yourself. That is what it is. So for Swadhisthana chakra, when it is functioning well, when it is rotating well, you have a healthy sense of self. You know yourself. You're your own friend. You have a beautiful relationship with yourself. And when this is happening, there is a hormone that is getting released in your body, which is called as serotonin. This serotonin hormone, this is linked to, I can say, the quality of your connection with yourself, or rather the light you hold within yourself, which is your soul, you can call it, which has sort of come out of all limitations. That is what serotonin rules. So when serotonin is more in your body, you have a healthy sense of self. And that is why people who are highly evolved, they're at peace. When they sit down alone, they are in a state of peace, a state of joy. They enjoy their aloneness and they spend their time in very productive ways. They don't need unnecessary drama in their life, and they know when somebody is coming into their life to steal their energy. These are the people who produce high levels of serotonin. But people who are darker in nature, who thrive on conflict, who want to trouble others, take away from others, bully others, harass others, they are always upset, or they're always creating problems for themselves and for others around them. These people have less serotonin in their body. You have to understand this. So serotonin, when it is produced well in our body, we become evolved beings. So there's a link between the light and serotonin. And that is why when we go out and when we are in an open area and you look at the sunlight, never look directly at the sun, but when you look at sunlight, serotonin gets produced inside your brain. Because when there is more light, there is more serotonin in your system. And when there is more spiritual light within you, you have more serotonin getting produced in your system. Now, the right side of the body is the Pingala Nadi. The left side, the feminine side, is the Ida Nadi. Now, you will see that there are certain toxic people, certain even negative entities. Where you go to a place where there are negative energies, you will get bad smell. The person does not smell good. If you have a very sensitive nose, you will quickly catch up people or you can quickly identify people who smell bad. It's not that they're not taking care of themselves. They could be having a bath, brushing their teeth, changing clothes, but still there is some kind of a smell that emanates from their body. These are the ones generally who have more negative tendencies. And I'll tell you the reason why. I said sulfur or sun is the spirit. When the sun is not shining bright in that person, the sulfur is also not burning bright in that person. So what happens is when the sulfur does not burn bright, it comes out as smell. Sulfur can produce light. You have sulfur light bulbs are there. Under certain conditions, sulfur produces light. And in our body also, we produce hormones like oxytocin and vasopressin. Oxytocin hormone makes you feel safe, it makes you feel grounded, it makes you feel taken care of. You can trust the world, you can trust yourself. This comes from oxytocin. So as you evolve, as you get more grounded, more oxytocin is produced in your body. But when we lack any sense of trust in ourselves and in the world around us, we're in this constant anxiety and all that, vasopressin gets released inside of us. And when vasopressin gets released more, serotonin also, the level of serotonin goes down, our self-worth goes down. So vasopressin consists of sulfur, oxytocin has sulfur, and serotonin hormone, it gets produced in a body when we are exposed to light. So you can see the connection. How our inner chemistry is playing a game inside a body where we can see how the effect of light within our mind, within our soul is changing because of the hormonal changes in our body. And the hormonal changes happen the most in a spiritual awakening process. And that is why when you see yogis or saints, even after they die, their body smells sweet. It smells sweet because the soul, the sulfur in the body was burning bright. When the sulfur burns bright, there is no foul smell because there is more light that is getting produced there. But in somebody or some entity or a person, especially people with personality disorders, the soul is not burning bright with light because it is cut away from the divine light, and hence you will see that they have body odor. It's not just that. I've noticed many people with narcissistic tendencies, sociopathy, psychopathy. You will see that, especially people with narcissism and sociopathy, I've noticed that they sweat a lot. Sometimes, even when they're sitting in air conditioned rooms, if there is something which will stir up greed inside of them, you will see that they start sweating. Now, some can sweat because of medical conditions. I'm not saying that everybody who sweats profusely for no reason is a narcissist. I'm not saying that. So, even if you're in an it's winter, everybody is wearing sweaters. It is cold, and then think that the AC is also turned on in that room. And if the narcissist has this, the he is like very fond of food, and he cannot control himself. If you put food in front of him, greed starts showing up in him. You will immediately notice that they're profusely sweating. They cannot control the sweat because all these emotions are linked to the water element in our body. All this chemistry is happening at the level of the sacral area, which is the water element. And if you look at hydrogen sulfide, hydrogen and oxygen form water, and sulfur, I said, is the light of the spirit. So hydrogen sulfide is highly inflammable, and when it goes up in flames, the residue is water. It leaves water behind. So when these people are they are caught up in greed or some kind of anger or rage or excitement, which is not a good excitement, you will see that there's a lot of sweating happening there. Another thing you will see even in social media, and generally mostly you will see in social media platforms, or you will see people, they're constantly taking selfies. Why do they do that? So what happens here is, I'm getting questions, but see, if I talk now, I'll get diverted from my topic. Please ask me these questions at the end of the session and I'll answer all your questions. So what happens here is, you will see that all those people who want to be center of attraction, you will see that narcissists are more eager to be center of attraction, whereas the enlightened beings are very shy. They don't want to come out. They sort of, they stay away from social life. They prefer to be alone, doing what they enjoy. And they have a kind of humbleness and shyness in them, which is a very high, big quality. Whereas the people who have narcissistic tendencies constantly want to be in the attention of a lot of people. They want everybody to look at them. And so that everybody look at them, they'll do all sorts of things. They'll dance, they'll jump, they'll talk something, or they'll gossip, or they'll show off. Maybe they wear some very flashy clothes, or maybe they wear some branded item just to show off. If you want to buy an item, you like it, you buy it, you wear it, it is a different thing. But if you're just doing it to show off, or they talk about where they've been, how much they've spent, who they know, and they try to define themselves by using big names. They drop big names. Why? When they're doing all this, people are looking at them. And what happens when too many people look at you? Energy transfer is happening. Because the energy in your body is managed by your kidneys. How much strength you have in your body, how much energy disposable energy you have in your body, whether you're feeling weak, whether you're feeling fatigued, it is the kidneys that are doing it, and the hypothalamus is also part of it. So the kidneys are linked to the eyes, and that is why energy can get transferred when you look through the eyes. And the energy transfer happens as light from the highest vibrational state to the lower vibrational state. Simple thing to understand. So when you see somebody, and if a lot of people are looking at that person with lot of love and affection, or they admire that person, any person, you will see that person will reach heights in success. You take film stars, you take cricketers, football players, they're constantly in the media, in the limelight, in public light. The more people look at them admiringly in a positive way, the more this person will grow, because all that energy is feeding the light inside of them. So they, even if they don't have their own personal light, everybody's attention that is coming on to them is feeding their light, and they are able to grow up or move up in success because of others' energy. So when we are coming into contact with negative people, you will always notice that it has negative effects on you. How does a negative person drain your energy? They are also not aware how the energy dynamics, how they work in between individuals at a deeper layer. They don't know, but they're doing it. Thank you, Dream Create. They're doing it without their own knowledge. So what happens here is, when you come in contact with a negative person,